Today's class is on ionic equilibrium. It deals with Arrhenius concept, Bronsted-Lowry concept, and Lewis concept.
Today I am discussing about the ionic equilibrium, this chapter ionic equilibrium, which is related with the ionic compounds, ionic solid, ionic liquid, as well as ionic substances, electrolytes, which are called the electrolytes, which can form ions inside the molten state or in aqueous solution. So these are called the electrolytes. Electrolytes are those substances which form ions into the aqueous solution, either in aqueous solution or in molten state. But the electrolytes are again classified into two different parts. One is the strong electrolyte and other is the weak electrolyte. Now which one called is the strong electrolyte? On the basis of degree of dissociation, we can classify the electrolyte into the two parts known as the strong and weak electrolyte. What is degree of dissociation? It is denoted by alpha, which is equal to number of molecules form ions inside the solution or in molten state, whatever may be, divided by total number of molecules supplied, total number of molecules added into the solution either in molten state or in aqueous solution into 100%. So if it is expressed in the percentage, then degree of dissociation can be calculated by using this equation, number of molecules form ions divided by total number of molecules. Let we have assumed that 100 molecules or 100 moles of the substance of the electrolyte get dissolved into the solution either in molten state or in aqueous solution, whatever may be. Suppose we have taken the aqueous solution. So in aqueous solution, suppose 100 number of molecules or moles, number of moles, whatever may be, get dissolved. So now with respect to the total number of molecules or moles, here also number of molecules or moles, whatever may be. So out of these molecules or moles, how many number of molecules or mole get dissociated to form ions? Let we have assumed out of 100 moles, 20 moles get dissociated. Therefore, the expression becomes alpha equal to 20 by 100 into 100%. That means 20%. So that 20% is the degree of dissociation. So on the basis of degree of dissociation, we can classify the electrolytes into two different categories known as the strong and weak electrolytes. Generally, if or whenever alpha is greater than 30%, then that is called the strong electrolyte, like HCl, where alpha is approx equal to 86%. In case of H2SO4, where alpha is approx equal to 96%. In case of sodium hydroxide, where alpha is approx equal to 94%. So all these are strong electrolytes. If or when they get dissolved into the solution, they get dissociate approx completely to form ions. But if or whenever alpha is less than 30%, then that is called the weak electrolyte, like acetic acid. All organic acids are generally weak electrolytes. So organic acids as well as ammonium hydroxide, etc., all these are called the weak electrolytes. So these are the classifications of the electrolytes into two categories known as the strong and weak electrolytes. Now I am discussing about the Arrhenius concept, acid and base concept. First concept is Arrhenius. Maximum compounds, near about more than 80% can be explained. The acidic or basic nature of these compounds can be explained on the basis of Arrhenius concept. What is the concept? According to the Arrhenius concept, we know that in aqueous solution, if a substance is proton donor, that means H plus donor, it can form H plus. Not only the donor, but in aqueous solution, if it forms the H plus ion, then it is called the acid. And if in aqueous solution, if it forms OH minus ion, then it is called the base. This is the basic concept of the acid and base. In aqueous solution, the compound donates H plus ion, forms H plus ion in its aqueous solution known as the acid. If it forms OH minus ion, then it is the base. Like HCl, because we know that it dissociates into ions to form H plus and Cl minus in its aqueous solution. So we can say that HCl is an acid. Again, NaOH, sodium hydroxide, in its aqueous solution it forms Na plus and OH minus, as it forms OH minus ion in its aqueous solution. So we can say that sodium hydroxide is a base. But though we know that more than 80% of these compounds, of such type of compound, the acid and basic property of such compounds can be explained on the basis of Arrhenius concept, but there are some limitations. First limitation is the compound must dissolve into the aqueous solution. So there are several compounds which do not get dissolved into the aqueous solution, rather they dissolve in different solution, like in liquid SO2, like in liquid ammonia, whatever may be, or they may not get dissolved into any solution, and so we can't explain the acidic or basic nature of such compounds on the basis of Arrhenius concept, because it emphasizes on the aqueous solution. The solvent must be water and the solute must get dissolved into this solution, and after dissolution it must forms H plus ion, then it can be called as an acid, or it must forms OH minus ions, in that case it can be called as the base. So this is the first problem, it must dissolve into the aqueous solution. Again I am saying that there are several compounds which have no tendency to get dissolved into aqueous solution, several substances they remain insoluble in water, like calcium oxide also. And acids form H plus ion in aqueous solution, already we have discussed according to this concept, Arrhenius concept. So but H plus bare proton cannot exist into the aqueous solution. Why? Because we know that proton contains H plus, as it is H plus. H plus, its charge density becomes very high. Charge density can be calculated by charge by radius ratio. As the charge is unipositive but the radius is the smallest, because we know that hydrogen is the smallest size atom and its H plus ion is smaller as compared to the hydrogen atom. That's why its radius is very small, so its charge density becomes very high, and that's why it polarizes the negative pole of the water molecules towards it. The negative pole towards it strongly polarizes, and hence it can form H3O plus into the solution, into the aqueous solution, not the H plus. So bare proton, that means bare H plus, cannot exist inside the aqueous solution, rather it exists as the hydronium ion H3O plus. Next, it cannot explain the acidic nature of ammonium salts, because we know that all ammonium salts dissociates, which are soluble in water, like ammonium chloride dissociates into NH4 plus and the corresponding anion like Cl minus in case of chloride, in case of sulfate that will be SO4 2 minus, in case of nitrate that will be NO3 minus, whatever may be. But it cannot dissociate to form H plus ion in aqueous solution, rather it forms NH4 plus in aqueous solution. So according to the Arrhenius concept, it is not an acid, but it shows the acidic property, it changes its color of the indicator in its aqueous solution, but according to the Arrhenius concept, it is not an acid, because it doesn't donate or doesn't form H plus ion in its aqueous solution, rather it forms an H4 plus. Again, ammonia in its gaseous state cannot be explained as a base, because it cannot form OH minus ion and in aqueous solution, because we know that it is in gaseous state. So it's in gaseous state we can't explain the basic property of the ammonia, because it must get dissolved in aqueous solution, and after dissolution it has to form OH minus ion in aqueous solution. But in gaseous state ammonia cannot form OH minus, and that's why it is not a base according to the Arrhenius concept. Again, calcium oxide remains insoluble in water. A very few molecules of the calcium oxide get dissolved into the water to form calcium hydroxide. So it is a very weak base, or the basic property of this compound cannot be explained, because both calcium oxide as well as calcium hydroxide remain insoluble in water, and that's why we cannot explain the basic property of the calcium oxide. So this is the limitations of the Arrhenius concept. Now I am discussing about the Bronsted-Lowry concept. This is the second concept. After Arrhenius concept, we can explain the some compounds which cannot be explained, the acidic or basic property of which cannot be explained by Arrhenius concept. This can be explained by the Bronsted-Lowry concept. So Bronsted-Lowry concept is nothing but the protonic concept, and this protonic concept, and this concept doesn't emphasize on the aqueous solution. Rather, the substance may get dissolved in any type of solvent, may get dissolved in any solvent. So it doesn't get emphasis on the aqueous, that means water, rather it get dissolved in any solvent or in any substance, maybe molecule or ions even, because according to the Arrhenius concept only molecules are classified into acids or bases, but there are some ions which also can be classified as acids and bases. But according to the Bronsted theory we can explain the acidic or basic nature of the ions, but Arrhenius concept failed to explain the acidic or basic nature of the ion. So first advantage is this may get dissolved in any solvent, so it doesn't get emphasis on the water as the solvent. And second, the acidic or basic nature of the molecule as well as ions can be explained on the basis of Bronsted-Lowry concept. This is the protonic concept. What is the protonic concept? Because according to this concept, proton donor is an acid and proton acceptor is a base. Proton acceptor is a base. So we can see that here that according to the Arrhenius theory, we know that H plus donor in aqueous solution is an acid. So Arrhenius acid, all Arrhenius acids are Bronsted acids. But in case of Arrhenius concept, only OH minus donor in aqueous solution are called the base, but here H plus acceptor are the base. Therefore, all Arrhenius bases are not the Bronsted bases. Now, I am giving some example on the basis of this theory. See this. Suppose I am explaining about this HCl plus ammonia. See this. In this case, whatever may be the state, maybe aqueous solution or in gaseous state. Suppose these are gaseous. All these molecules are gaseous state, are in the gaseous state. Therefore, it forms NH4 plus and Cl minus. So HCl, see this, HCl converts to Cl minus as it donates its H plus. Therefore, it is an acid according to the Bronsted theory. In its gaseous state, it is an acid. Ammonia, by accepting that H plus, it forms ammonium molecule, ammonium ion, NH4 plus. That's why, as it accepts H plus, so according to this concept, this is a base. So this is a base here. So acid converts to the Cl minus, and that part is called the conjugate base of that acid. This is called the conjugate base of that acid. And ammonia converts to ammonium plus by accepting that H plus. It is called the conjugate acid of that base. So acid converts to the Cl minus, that anion, after the removal of H plus ion in the aqueous solution or in gaseous state, whatever may be. So that is called the conjugate base of that acid. And the substance which accept that H plus to form a cation like NH4 plus, it is called the conjugate acid of that base. The more the stable the conjugate part is, the stronger will be the parent compound, maybe an acid or base, whatever may be, parent compound. That means if we see that Cl minus is very stable, after the donation of H plus, HCl converts to the Cl minus, which becomes stable, then we can say that as the conjugate base becomes stable, therefore we can say that HCl is a very strong acid. NH3, after accepting of H plus, it converts to the NH4 plus. If we see that NH4 plus becomes stable, then we can say that NH3 is a very strong base. That we can say that the more the stable the conjugate part is, the stronger will be the parent compound. That means it starts from wet compound, that will be the stronger acid, either acid or base. See this H2SO4. H2SO4 donates its H plus, forms HSO4 minus. So it is an acid. We know that this is an acid, and this is the conjugate base of that acid. Again, that conjugate base can donate one H plus to form SO4 double minus. So in this expression, this is the acid because it donates its H plus, and this is the conjugate base. As well as HSO4 can accept one H plus, to form H2SO4. Again, as it accepts one H plus, then it can act as a base, and this is the conjugate acid. This is the conjugate acid of that base. So HSO4 minus can act as an acid as well as base. So it is amphoteric in nature. It can act as an acid as well as base. It is amphoteric in nature. Like this, we can express the acidic as well as basic property of some anion like HS minus bisulfate, HCO3 minus bicarbonate, etc. and so on, which can be expressed as acid as well as base. That's why they are amphoteric in nature. So this is the Bronsted-Lowry concept to explain some acidic or basic properties of some compounds. Now in case of Bronsted-Lowry concept, there is a limitation because it cannot explain the acidic nature of some compound like BF3, AlCl3, etc., which doesn't get dissolved in either aqueous solution. So according to the Arrhenius concept, they are not an acid or base. Again, they cannot form H plus, they cannot donate H plus, like BF3 cannot donate H plus because they have no hydrogen atom in its molecule. It has no hydrogen atom in its molecule. That's why it is not the acid according to the Bronsted concept, but it shows some acidic property. So according to the Lewis concept, those compounds are acid in nature which can accept a pair of electrons. So acids, according to the Lewis theory, Lewis acids are those compounds which can accept a pair of electrons, and according to this theory, those compounds are bases which can donate a pair of at least a pair of electron. Now I am giving an example of BF3. See this here, boron is the central atom and it is belong to the group 13. So it contains 3 electrons in its valence shell, and from each fluorine atom it accepts 1 electron, and as there is 3 fluorine atoms, so 3 electrons are accepted. Therefore total electrons in its valence shell becomes 6, which is less than octet. So to fulfill its octet, it has a tendency to accept 2 electrons. As it has a tendency to accept a pair of electrons, so it is an acid. So BF3 is an acid according to Lewis theory. Thus we can explain the acidic property of the BF3. So on the basis of Lewis concept, we can classify the Lewis acids in these 4 particular parts. First, the central atom, which is less than octet, contains less than octet, just like BF3, AlCl3 also. Aluminium belongs to the group 13. As it belongs to the group 13, it contains 3 electrons in its valence shell, as well as it accepts 1 electron from each chlorine atom. That's why total electron in its valence shell becomes 6, which is also less than octet. So it has a tendency to accept 1 electron pair to fulfill its octet in its valence shell, and that's why it also acts as a Lewis acid. Any cation can act as Lewis acid because they have a tendency to accept a pair of electron to fulfill their charge, to neutral their charge, to balance their charge. Like sodium plus accepts Cl minus to form NaCl, K plus accepts NO3 minus to form KNO3, like this. So they have a tendency to accept pair of electron, and that's why all these cations are also belong to the Lewis concept, according to the Lewis concept, Lewis acids. Now third, they have vacant D subshell. The central atom has vacant D subshell. See this silicon tetrachloride. So all these elements in all these compounds, silicon is the central atom, germanium may be the central atom, aluminium may be the central atom. So AlF6 minus. See this, it actually is prepared from the AlF3 by accepting 3F minus. So AlF6 minus. SiF4 also can accept pair of electrons 2F minus to form SiF6 2 minus. So such type of compounds, the central atom has a vacant d subshell in which it can accept F minus, 2F minus or 3F minus. That's why these compounds, that means SiF4, SiCl4, AlF3 can act as the Lewis acid because they have a tendency to accept pair of electrons, more than one pair of electrons, like here 3 pair of electrons. In case of SiF4, 2 pair of electrons are accepted. Again, polar multiple bond in molecules. See, this polar multiple bond means C. We know that the structure of CO2 is like this, linear CO2. This is the structure of the CO2 molecule. CO2 molecule, due to the presence of very strong electron withdrawing group, because oxygen is one of the most electronegative elements, so the polarity towards oxygen becomes del negative and carbon occupies some del positive charge. Hence, it is electron deficient. So it can be attacked by the other species. So it can act as a Lewis acid. Again, just like this SO2, the structure is like this: S double bond O, as also it contains a lone pair over it. As it is electron deficient, just like CO2, oxygen is more electronegative, so it attracts the electron density towards it. It occupies del negative charge. Sulfur occupies del positive charge over it. So it becomes electron deficient highly, and hence it can be attacked by the negative charge. So it has a tendency to accept a pair of electrons. So electron pair can be accepted by this sulfur. Hence, such type of central atom which is attached with the polar multiple bond can act as the Lewis acid because they have a tendency, they are electron deficient, and hence they have a tendency to accept pair of electron. Now I am discussing about the Lewis base, types of Lewis bases. Central atom, first, central atom has at least one lone pair, like ammonia, because we know that in case of ammonia, NH3 molecule, since ammonia has 5 electrons in its valence shell, 3 electrons are shared with 3 hydrogen atom, and a pair of electron is present over the nitrogen atom, which it can donate to accept either H plus or to form coordinate bond with BF3, etc. and so on. So such type of molecule which has at least one lone pair over the central atom can act as Lewis base. So ammonia is a Lewis base. Again, any anion can act as Lewis base because suppose Cl minus, it has a tendency to accept either Na plus or H plus, etc. So it has a tendency to accept a cation. That means it has a tendency to donate its lone pair to the cation, towards the cation, polarize the lone pair towards the cation, and hence such type of anion is called the Lewis base. Like this, SO4 2 minus also has a tendency to combine with 2K plus. That means it has a tendency to donate its electron density towards the potassium plus, and hence electron pair donor is called the Lewis base. So sulfate anion, so chloride anion, nitrate anion, etc. all these anions can resemble as the Lewis bases. So this is the Lewis concept, according to which we can classify maximum compound as Lewis acid or Lewis base, lone pair donor or lone pair acceptor. That's why it is called the electronic concept. On the basis of electron pair donation or acceptance, we can classify some compounds according to their. Now, what are the limitations? Limitations is the formation of any coordinate compound resemble as acid base reaction. See this ammonia donates its lone pair to the boron, BF3 molecule of boron. So it is a coordinate bond form in between these two. So NH3 forms a coordinate with BF3, and such type of coordination bond formation is also resemble as the acid base reaction because it donates its lone pair, so it is a base, Lewis base, and it accepts its lone pair, that's why it is a Lewis acid. But all such type of coordinate compound formation are not resemble as the acid base reaction. Again, it cannot explain the acidic nature of the hydrochloric or sulfuric acid. In aqueous solution, they donate either H plus ion in aqueous solution to form H3O plus. But according to the Lewis theory, as they do not accept a pair of electron, and that's why they are not the acidic in nature. So we cannot explain the acidic property of such compounds in its aqueous solution.